There's a footy in there, a dual international as well. He's played lots of footy games and has so many stories to tell.
Oh, stop that racket. It's story time with Matt Rogers.
It is indeed. It's that time again.
Yes.
We are ready for story time with none other than dual international Matt Rogers. You have travelled the world. You've met lots of people. You've done lots of things.
Yep.
You're going to tell us about something today of interest?
Well, I've got so many stories that I don't know where to start. But but one thing that came up in Survivor that I did was a lot of people noticed that I'm missing fingers.
Yes, you are.
And there's a bit of a story behind those missing fingers.
Do tell.
I thought I'd tell those stories because I'm missing 2 fingers on my right hand.
Right.
So I don't have a pinky.
No pinky.
Yeah, that's gone. And I'm
Pinkyless.
Yep, pinkyless. And I'm missing part of my ring finger. And a lot of people ask, oh, you're missing fingers. I'm like, yeah, I'm missing fingers. Why, how did that happen? And so I figured, why not tell our listeners how I lost my fingers?
Go ahead.
It's unusual to lose 1 finger, but to lose 2. Yeah. So the first one was my ring finger on my right hand. I feel like that sort of shaped my life a little bit, just because.
Because it happened when you were young,
Yeah,
right?
I was very young.
How old were you?
I think I was about 5 or 6.
Yeah. It's not a good time to lose a finger at that age.
Well, they were little, so I mean, it wasn't a big finger. It was a little finger. I was 5. I think I might have been 6 because it was 81, and it was the year that my dad won the.
You are so much older than me.
Yeah. No, I'm 4 months older than you, I think.
Shush.
Anyway. So I was 5 years old, and the reason I know it was during the year that my dad won the gold Dally M was because it was the night of the Dally M Awards. So the Dally M Awards, the big night.
It was on the same night.
That day.
You're joking.
No, and we're like literally down the road at.
You would have been the worst son in the world.
Yeah, this was like a shocker. So we're down at our friend's house, 4 or 5 houses down the street. And my brother is riding an exercise bike. This is about 3 p.m, or maybe a bit later, maybe 4 or 5 p.m. And Mum and Dad were getting ready, and the limo was coming to pick them up to take them into. So they're getting ready for the Dally M's. Dad's putting his tux on and all this sort of stuff. And he was tipped to win the award, like the gold Dally M that night.
Yeah.
Which he eventually did win, but it came after these events.
Oh, no.
So I'm down at my friend's house. Well, it was my brother's friend, actually. So my brother's 3 years older than me, 2.5 years older than me. And he was riding an exercise bike. Now, exercise bikes are very different back in those days to what they are today. So for the kids listening, so you look at a stationary bike you sit on and you ride, it doesn't even look like a real bike.
At the gym, yeah.
At the gym, it's totally different to what you would.
There's no spokes.
No spoke, no wheels, it's just like a stationary piece of machinery.
Just a stool with some pedals.
Yeah,
basically.
that's right. Whereas back in the day, it was like a proper bike with a
spokes.
wheel with spokes, no cage around the wheel.
No cage.
No cage.
Oh, my goodness.
And my brother was riding said bike, and he says to me, he didn't say to me. I said to him, we were very competitive, my brother and I.
We're going to have to stop there because we have to go to a song. So you guys are going to have to keep listening if you want to hear the rest of this story. This is Good Taste Brekky with Chloe and her family locked away, and you are listening to Story Time with Matt Rogers. We'll be back after this. Good Taste Brekky with Chloe and her family locked away. We're in the midst of Story Time with Matt Rogers, setting the scene here. His dad's about to go to the Dally M's, was tipped to win, and his brother is sitting on a stationary bike.
Exercise bike.
Exercise bike.
Exercise bike, yeah.
Carry on from
1981, circa 81.
Circa 81.
So you're thinking like...
I wasn't born yet.
Yeah, you were. You were like 12.
Shush!
So the wheel's spinning around, and I'm looking at it just like, as most 5 or 6 year olds, well, I don't know, not most, maybe just me, thinking I could stop that wheel. And I thought I could grab it and I could stop it. And I said to my brother, I reckon, he was riding it, mind you. I said, I reckon I could stop that. And he's looked at me, he's like, no, you couldn't. I'm like, yeah, I could. So then it became like, yeah, I could. No, you couldn't. Yeah, I could. No, you couldn't.
No.
Between the younger brother and the older brother. And I'm like, I'm going to stop
and
it.
I know exactly what you're like.
And he's like...
so stubborn.
So I'm like,
yes, I can.
I bet you I can. And he's like, I bet you can't. So then he, as the older brother, has decided to pedal a lot harder and a lot faster.
No.
And I've gone, I'm going to stop it. So I've just jammed my hand into the wheel to try to grab the wheel to stop him pedaling. Like at 5 years old, you don't realise that your quads and your legs are a lot bigger and stronger than your bicep. and I've literally jammed my hand in there to try to stop it. My whole hand has gone around the wheel, if you can imagine.
I don't know if this is good taste for the kids at home.
No,
Sorry,
no,
kids.
it's not. Don't do this. This is like a lesson. This is a lesson.
It's a lesson.
And it's gone around the wheel and it's hit the fork and it just snapped my finger straight off.
Yeah, that's terrible.
It was. We couldn't find the finger. So I'm freaking out. Like I'm looking at my hand. I've got no finger on there. And I'm like, well, my finger's gone. And my brother's laughing because he won the bet. So he's like, I'm the champion.
He didn't care that you'd lost your
No,
finger.
not at
All
all.
he cared about was winning the bet.
He won
Nice.
the bet. Our friend, who was like a few years older than us, has just lost it. He's like crying, running around, not knowing what to do. There's
my
blood pouring
goodness.
out of my hand. And he's taken off down to our house. And my brother at this point sort of come around and he's put a cloth over my hand because it just was bleeding so much. You can imagine there's no finger there. And our friend has run down hysterical down to our house and gone, Mrs. Rogers, Matt's cut his finger off. And my mum was a nurse, right? So she's like, rushed down to the house and I've got this cloth over my hand. And if you can imagine, like the cloth's over my hand and there was a flap of skin on top of on the top part of my finger that was hanging over the bone. So she's pulled the cloth off from the top side.
No.
She can just see the skin and all the blood, right? So
gosh.
she's like,
Yuck.
oh, it's just a deep cut. We'll get it sorted out. We'll go to the
dear.
hospital and get some stitches.
Yeah.
So
she didn't look for the finger.
So no one looked for
No one looked
Yeah, no one looked for the finger.
Some neighbourhood dog had a tasty morsel of a snack that afternoon.
No. So, that I'll tell you about that. But on the way to the hospital, I'm starting to sort of, because I was in shock. I wasn't really crying. I was like, oh, I've cut my finger off. Happened so quick. And then, like 3/4 of the way to the hospital, I started to it was starting to hurt a bit. So I'm like, oh, it's
just
hurting.
a bit.
It's hurting, you know. And so Mum's grabs my hand and I've like offered my hand to her. She's lifted the rag off my hand the other way.
And seen that it's missing.
And it's peeled the skin back.
Oh, gosh.
And there was just a little bone sticking
No.
out. And that's when she's like realised, oh, you've cut it off. I'm like, yeah, I've cut it off.
Oh, gosh.
So we get to the hospital. They ring up the house to try to find the finger. They couldn't find it. Because it shot out of the spokes like a projectile, went across the room. Yeah, anyway, we found it. Like they found it a day later.
Oh,
it was like in the
gosh, it
corner
would
of
have been all
like
manky.
it was.
I bet.
It was. Anyway,
Oh, dear.
yeah, they couldn't stitch it back on, so I'm missing the end of that's the end of my ring finger.
Oh, my goodness. There you have it, folks. The story behind missing finger number 1. If you want to find out what happened to missing finger number 2, you'll have to tune in again at the same time. You have been listening to Story Time with Matt Rogers on Good Taste Brekky with Chloe and her family locked away.